be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Oh, I just love that. And it's so funny. I'm so used to, I do that in the shower. I say it in the shower. I say it sometimes while I'm driving. I just repeat it over and over again to myself because it kind of just changes the vibrational tone of what I'm doing, whatever situation I'm in. It changes the vibration for me, and so I like to remind myself that this is, a required course. Only the time I take it is voluntary. And no matter what I'm doing, I'm still taking the course. I don't know how many of you ever watched this little movie called Jumanji. I don't know. Did you ever see that movie? It's called Jumanji. And on Jumanji, Robin Williams started off playing a game, Jumanji, when he was a little boy, a little kid. And it was so funny because it showed how even when there was no players present, the game was still being played. And it had to be played through to completion. So when the next group of kids discovered the game and they started to play the game, it set Robin Williams free. He came back out of the game, and he said the reason why he was caught up inside of the game for 20 years was because that woman stopped playing. And so this is the same with this course. It's going on whether or not you know it or not. The course is teaching you. So sometimes we have this perception that we're doing the course, even when you may sit your book on the shelf for a year or two and not, open it up, not do the lessons, not talk about it, it's still doing you. So this idea that once you, even when you don't know about the course, you're still living the course because it's a life lesson. And I love to say that over and over again because I think that people have this tendency to believe that they could do otherwise. And the fact of the matter is you really can. I mean, it's wonderful, the way that God has the plan set up for all of us. You're walking the course whether you know it or not. So, it's funny. When I started thinking about what am I going to talk about today, I thought to myself, I'm going in there and I'm going to open up my book and I'll see what jumps out at me, and which is what I do sometimes. And so I opened up my book, and when I opened up my book, I opened up to chapter 2 and separation and the atonement. And so as I started reading it, the origins of separation, I started reading, and I stopped when I got to the ideas. It says the inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you, and that you can fill it with your own ideas instead of truth. The process involves the following steps. Now here's what gets me. A lot of times what we do, our ego self does, is we don't want to admit that we have these feelings of lack, these feelings of inadequacy, these feelings of uncertainty about ourselves and our own thoughts. Our ego doesn't like to admit that there are doubts that come up in our minds about ourselves. And so as I don't talk, especially not in my class, to people in looking for agreement, because what our ego does is our ego wants to present what it thinks is its best and highest face, which is not always the truthful face. And so what people will say is what they think that other people want to hear, which is not necessarily what's true. And so, I have learned how to just talk if I want to communicate an idea. I don't look for agreement. I don't look for people to tell me what they think I want to hear. It's like I talk. And if I talk from my truth or my experience, then I'm not trying to judge somebody else or tell somebody what they should do or anything else like that. I'm simply talking from my experience, which is it's how I like to do it. So when I'm saying to you that people believe that there is a lack in themselves, they judge against themselves, they feel inadequate, they have all these feelings, but nobody quite wants to say it because it's not very spiritual. And so, yeah, you can come live with me for a while. Bless your heart. So it becomes this thing of just like speaking our truth, and so that's what I try to do. So I'm always giving these ideas and these examples of how I see things, and so I have talked and I've talked quite extensively about the growth that I've gone through in order to get me to this place. The moment I stopped judging myself, I could care less whether or not somebody else judged me. I don't know. Sometimes I talk so much. I share so much of myself. I'm always saying, I don't know if I've told you about this before, but so what, I'll tell you again. If you heard it before, then hopefully, you enjoyed the story the first time I told it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it this time when I tell it too. So years ago, I'm sitting at sitting in a library because years ago, I did not have a computer in my house, and so I would go into this computer lab in order to get on the computer, and I would work. And when you're in a computer lab, you've got about 2 hours on the computer, and not only are you there, you've got all these other people in there that also don't have a computer, and they need to be on there. So this one particular day, I'm sitting there, and there's a woman there, and this woman decided that she wanted to witness to me. That's what what people who are, I guess you could say, saved or born-again Christians do. They do this thing called witnessing. And witnessing means that I need to talk to this person over here who I perceive to be a sinner. I'll witness to them, and hopefully somehow they'll get saved because now I'm telling them my story. And so she wanted to witness to me, which is, cool. Talk away, because I guess if that's what we're all doing is witnessing on some level. Anyway, so she starts telling me this stuff, and at the end of this story, she tells me, she was like, make sure you never give a man your body until he knows you, because if you give him your body, you've given him all that you have of value to give. And you should have seen my head snap around like, what? Are you joking me? Really? I mean, my body is what she was telling me was all that I had of value to give. And so I needed to keep it covered up and keep it to myself. And therefore, if I did, then that would somehow add some value to me. And I'm sitting there thinking like, and I finally said to her, I said, really? Now this is something she said to a woman who had already been a survivor of rape, okay? And then I was thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. How is my body all that I have of value? I mean, if that's the case, every woman in here has a body. I mean, so what sets us apart? I mean, is that all we are? And at that age, in that situation, I had enough sense to know that I am more than just a body. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, who told you that craziness? You know what I mean? And so it becomes this thing of, at a certain point, that triggered, that for me though, and I'll say this, that for me triggered the idea to think to myself, where does my value lie? I mean, in college, when I was in college, I had worked for, the government and everything before I went to college, and So I had a new car that I had driven off of the showroom floor. My second year in college, I was telling this guy, I'm on this date, and he's showing me his little car, and I wanted to show him my car. So even though we had gone on a date, we went on a date now, we're back sitting inside of the apartment that I had, and I wanted to show him my car. So I take him out of the apartment, down the steps, and into the carport to show him my car, as if my car was where my value was, and my car is not there. So now, guys, imagine this. I'm standing in the middle of the carport, and I'm looking at the ground as if we're watching on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I'm saying, but it was right here. And I'm staring at the ground as if the car was going to magically reappear. My car had been repossessed. And for some reason, then I had to figure out, okay, what is it about me that has value? I had to figure out, when this woman told me that my body was all I had, what is it that has value? And so at all these stages in my early development, I was trying to figure out, from where comes my value? And a lot of people still don't get it because they think it's about a job title or the clothes that they have on their back, or, whether or not they have the best or nice body, the boob job that they get, the education, did I say that already? How much money they make, who they marry. We externalize our value, and we want to think that the value is here and there and everywhere, rather than how we were created. And so, as we're sitting here and you're reading this and we're saying to you that you believe you have some emptiness. Here, let me go ahead and read this. It says, our first thing is that you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. So you think that just because you think that you're not quite good enough, that somehow, that because you think that it somehow changed in God's mind. Hello? Okay, so you believe, and I don't need you to agree with me. I don't need you to agree with me. But a lot of times, what we don't want to admit is that in the first place, we have learned through our things. We come out as little kids thinking that we can be anything. We can have or do anything. We do that up until we're a certain age, and then all of a sudden we get this feeling, I think we do it in school somewhere, that we learn it in school, that we're not quite good enough. We don't quite measure up. And so then it becomes our awareness that somehow God started us off as good, and then all of a sudden we turn into something along the way that is not quite good enough. And so then we're trying to get all this other stuff that makes us now somehow worthy. You were created perfect, and yet you don't believe it. So let me go on to the second point. Oh, don't you love this stuff? Second, you believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. So now, what then makes you imperfect, right? What makes, do I need to start my thing, or is that you? Hi, Kevin, do I need to restart my computer? Or did the sound go out in the room? Did it go out in the room? Can you guys hear me? Somebody, can I get it? Hello? Okay, I don't know. Okay, whatever. I'm talking to myself. I see a microphone up there, so I'm going to keep on talking. But apparently, if nobody heard me ask, am I on, that means that I might not be, right? Am I on? Hello. Hi, whoever's in the Ustream listening to me. I hope you can hear me. Can you guys hear me in the room? Is anybody in the room that can hear me? Is there anybody that can hear me? Let me ask so Kevin, you can hear me. Okay, well maybe nobody else is in the room but you, but that's all good. Okay, so it doesn't take away from my excitement. You know, one of the things I used to do, and I'll keep talking because I love this stuff. But one of the things I used to do all the time that I was doing regular terrestrial radio, I was on the radio for years, and I always operated on the notion when I was on the radio that I only had 3 people listening to me, just 3. And so if I had only 3 people listening to me, then there was no reason for me to be nervous or anxious about it, because those 3 people were there because, you know, they wanted to be, and who, you know, really, y'all are just eavesdropping on my conversation I'm having with myself anyway. So what difference does it make, right? Okay, so, oh my gosh, I have been bounced from the room by the main moderator, not a Pal Talk administrator. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Alright, so you're still there. I'm having some problems with Pal Talk over here. And okay, can you hear me now? I got this big sign. It just said, it came up and it says, you have been bounced from the room by the administrator. And I was thinking, like, really? That's cute. Okay, so whatever. I was bounced out of the room for a minute. So here I am. I'm back. Okay, so I lost the mic for 2 minutes. Really? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I am so sorry. I don't even know what you guys last heard then. But whatever it was, it's all good. It's fine. I was probably talking about people not listening to me anyway, so it's good. It's good. It's really good. The car stories. Okay. Okay, so yeah, it's not. Okay, so I left off at the car story. Okay, so you guys probably heard me saying that I kept staring at the ground, and I'm looking at this ground, and I'm thinking to myself, my car was right here. And so I kept thinking, okay, it was right here, and I'm looking and staring like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of staring, like all of a sudden it must have been so small, yeah, that you couldn't see it. It had gotten repoed. And so then I had to figure out what my value was, based on the idea that, you know, because I thought it was, you know, I thought it was in the car. I thought, you know, how impressive my car was. At some point I thought it was, okay, my body, how impressive that is. The clothes, I mean, I would go out and spend, like, you know, $100 on a pair of pants. I mean, what can a pair of pants do that you would pay $100 for? I mean, $180-some for a sweater, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell did the sweater do? You know what I mean? So I was caught up for a while there, and I don't know, maybe it was all the folks that were around me and all this other stuff, but I was so caught up on all of this stuff and spending money, you know, like elaborate amounts of money, because I had to have the purses, and I had to have the car, and I had to, you know, it was an image thing, and that all of my personal value was caught up not in who I was, but in what I had. And so first you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind, right? We went bankrupt during several years. Okay, so yeah, so you get me, right? We have this notion that who we are is our houses, our cars, our education, our clothing, all of this other stuff. We externalize our value thinking it's about all the other stuff. And so then it becomes this thing. So when I'm saying that this course is living us, it's like if you don't get that your value is not in the stuff, the lesson will then be given to you, because exactly, Dove, your worth is established by God. It's not in any of that other stuff. And so, not by your teaching or your learning, none of your getting is going to establish your value. And so, you know, it's all in this idea that we really start to get that who we are is not about all the stuff outside of us, but rather, rather that you were created, that you were so I could flip over here, and it's so funny because a lot of times we have this insane notion that that somehow along the line, that as we grow through life, we lose value. Like driving a car off of a lot, depreciation sets in. We think that somehow through the course of our living that we depreciate in value, rather than recognizing that all of us were born with value, all of that stuff. Now the Course tells us that we have an authority problem, right? That we have an authority problem, that we think now that we created God rather than God creating us. And so the thing is that now since we think that we are valueless, since people have this notion that they are not valuable, and nobody says this, trust me, nobody says this. They don't go around and say, oh, you know what, sometimes I do. Sometimes I do hear people talking about, oh, I don't feel worthy, I don't feel very important, I don't feel like anybody listens to me, I don't feel this, and I don't feel, you know what, and here's the thing, when you don't value yourself, it's hard to convince other people to value you. So, I am always amazed at the numbers of people who start to tell me about how nobody listens to them. I was like, really, would you listen to you either? Because you don't even sound like you believe in your own words and the stuff that you're coming out of your mouth. It's so funny because one of my favorite things to say is so how you doing? You know how you ask people, how you doing? And they say, oh, I'm good. And it's like, really, tell your face, because you don't believe it. You don't tell your face that you're good. And if you tell your face you're good, you might actually convince somebody else that you really are. Okay, so yes, we're like a fine wine, better with age. I so agree with you, but I don't know where the shift comes along. I don't know if it's like when we get in school, if all of a sudden, because we're now being graded, that people start to feel valueless, or they start to feel judged, or compared, or because they were picked last on the playground. I don't know if it's just in school, or where it is that people learn or start to lose what they think is their value. Because little kids, I tell you, as little kids, we think we're perfect and wonderful. And then something happens and a shift occurs, then we start to depreciate, and then all of a sudden, over 40, I think we start to appreciate more. So I don't know what that's about. But all I know is that this course, not only this course, but the course of life is teaching us and showing us, and hopefully we get the lesson that says that your value is established by God and not by your small ideas of yourself. You don't have to do to get to have so I can be. Yes, that is backwards. Yes. And so do that all the time. I do that all the time, and it's very, very boring. Okay, so I lost that upside down. Nope, laugh out loud. Who wants to listen to a wine box? When life starts to be competition. Yeah. And competition is demeaning, and I don't think that people understand how demeaning it can be when we start to believe in that competitiveness. Okay, so second, you believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. So if you believe that if you know that you were born perfect, at what point do you think that the shift occurs? So that's where it comes in, this idea that you think that your thinking by your mind can then render something that was perfect imperfect, because you think you know better. So it becomes this idea of our perception of ourselves becomes the reality for a lot of people. Their perception becomes their reality. But their reality has nothing to do with what's real. Right? So it becomes this notion. So the other day, and I'll tell you guys this, I was talking to my brother. We were in the kitchen cooking, and my brother comes in, and he works nights, and so he comes in while we're cooking, and he says to me, me and my sister, he says to me, he was like, you know what, I'm going to go, and I'm going to take a quick nap, I'm going to get about a half an hour in, and then I'll be back. And I said, well, thanks for the warning. And when I said that, he actually got mad. And I'm thinking, he said something smart alecky to me about it, and I was like, and I said to him, to me, I thought it was funny. He thought I was being offensive, like I was insulting him. And I'm saying to him, well, you know what? I said, it was a joke, and so I said, thanks for the warning that you were coming back. I was like, it was really a joke. I'm like asking him why get upset about that? So I heard myself say, and I had to tweet this earlier today, that we don't see people as they are, we see them as we are. And when we see them as we are, it makes us, if your thoughts are that, that you can be attacked anyway, or that somebody is always attacking you, then that's what you'll hear. Rather than, something that could be funny or taken, in a different context. We hear things as we are. So I can be talking and I can say something that's totally loving and affirming, but because your head is not there, you're going to hear what you hear based not on what I said and the intent behind what I said, but what you already brought into it. So it becomes this thing of, when you feel inadequate, everything everybody else says is going to affirm your own beliefs and your inadequacy. So what we do is that, I'm always trying to sew into, like let me always, be affirming and grateful and loving and all that other stuff. But just because I say, oh, now tell your face that you feel good, people really get offended sometimes. Like I'm saying something about their face, and it's not like a crack or anything. It's, make your face happy. That kind of thing. So it's always how people, where we come from. And so even our thoughts, even because your thoughts are that when people have feelings of inadequacy or their own little notions about what's not right, they'll hear that over and over again until they get the truth that their thinking does not render what is perfect imperfect. It still remains as God created. So third, you believe that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself. You think that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself. So it's so funny because when my car got repossessed, I know for me it was pretty traumatic. I mean, I'm in my 20s and I'm thinking that this car was so important. I was thinking that somehow that added to my value, that nobody was going to love me now because I didn't have a car. really, that was what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so nobody's going to love me, nobody's going to want me, and I swear to you, it's like all of those notions went through my head about personal acceptability because of what I thought was part of the package or the dowry And look, and as I'm saying Dalvin, for y'all old school folks that understand that term and what it means, I'm still not married. Have never been married. And so this notion that I needed a package to present was crazy. I mean, it was crazy then. It sounds crazy to me now. But it's even more crazy when I hear people that are my age or older still talking in those terms as if they still are externalizing their value. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, where are these lessons not getting through? You know, where is it that, and I guess it's because for some reason we don't speak to that level. You know, in ordinary life, people just don't get it. It's like that Will Robinson, you know, on Lost in Space, where they start swinging their arms talking about that does not compute, because for so many people, the notion that their value is not in what they own, what they think they own, that idea is so foreign to them that it simply doesn't compute. It no longer computes, and so it becomes this thing of us trying to figure out that it doesn't change our value. So you see all these folks here, I know here where I stay at, you see all these folks that have license plates, and I don't know how many different ways you can put blessed and his only child, and, God chose me, and, everybody's now got their religion plastered on everything. They gotta be the saved one, they've gotta be the chosen one, they've gotta be this, they gotta be that, they've gotta have a title, they've gotta have all of these things. It's like all these things, and they want everybody to know it. But it seems like even in the teachings that Jesus did in the Bible, it doesn't say, go around and put yourself out there like you're the only one that gets it or got it or anything like that. Whatever. It's amazing to me. Okay, so let me before I go off on another tangent. The fourth thing is that you believe that you can create yourself and that the direction of your own creation is up to you. Ooh. So it really is fascinating to me how many folks I see that walk around in these bodies or in this life, and they seem like they're so totally unhappy with themselves because they're doing what they think, how do I want to say, what society dictates, or what their parents dictate, or what husband or wife dictates, or it's like we're just floating along, weaving and bobbing upon this, this planet without really ever trying to figure out what gives us joy. And, it's amazing. If we followed our joy, we would come so much closer to doing that for which we were created than we could ever imagine, simply by following our joy. And so it becomes this thing of, we think, people think that somehow that they are creating their life and all of this stuff, rather than really letting the joy of life unfold through themselves. And as you let the joy unfold through you, that joy gets you closer to what your truth is. That joy leads you to what your truth is. Because then it's like you can stand up and stand in the person that you were meant to be. I know you guys have got some stuff, juicy stuff here. So what they think is expected of them, yes. How can you be happy in an unhappy place if you think you are here? There you go. To be in a role instead of following your joy. Yeah, there you go. I mean, and if and that's so true, because if this thing, we're in these these bodies. We have this perception that we are in our bodies and that we're in this thing, right? So I'm here, right? And I know that while I'm here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow my bliss, follow my joy, and that gets me closer to the point of where I know I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing here. Because I don't think that I'm here for no reason. I know that I'm here for a reason. And if it is simply to know thyself, if I'm so busy trying to do somebody else's self and not do myself, if I'm not following my joy, but rather what makes Tracy happy or Terry happy or Kevin happy, if I'm so busy worried about trying to be like Leon or trying to be like Stacy or trying to be like somebody else, then I never get to the point where I know myself, because I'm trying to do everybody else. If I could just come to this moment and in my truth, say my truth. So yesterday, so let me digress for a minute from where I am, because I only have a few more minutes. So yesterday, while I'm in class, I'm listening to the ladies talk, and as I'm listening to them talk, and instead of me just, I'm not one to just sit back and not say anything. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting the world according to Sandra, my perspective. And it's so amazing, because they have to sit there and they laugh as if I could never think of doing anything like that, or I could never say anything like that. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, the course, I know we all take pieces of the course that we love, and just like the Bible, we take pieces of it that we love, and we give it, we give it extra meaning. So when I read the line that what's missing in any situation is always what I fail to bring, I always take that to mean that Sandra is supposed to bring it. I'm supposed to bring it. So if I am sitting back and I'm quiet, or I'm not, if I'm not talking, or if I'm not, not coming with my truth and presenting it out there and putting it out there in a certain way, then I think that somehow I am not bringing what I'm supposed to bring. Am I off again? Can you guys hear me? My computer is acting weird. Can I get a little, am I getting a yes? No, and you're not hearing me? Okay, so let's see. Just clicking in and out. Okay, so you can hear me? Okay, so yeah, so it becomes this thing of just just trying to do me and showing up with my truth in the way that I'm supposed to show up with my truth, and recognizing that that if I don't, so if God knows, let me read this line. I've just looked down and I saw this. If God knows His children as wholly sinless, it is blasphemous. It is blasphemous, it says, to perceive them as guilty. If I am then looking at myself as if, this is not how I'm supposed to be, this is not what I'm supposed to do, this is not what, if I'm sitting up judging against myself, I'm committing blasphemy in that sense too. And so what I want to do is I want to live my truth. And my truth means living out loud. My truth means, try to do me instead of doing someone else. Yes! That's what it means. That's what it means to me. Just to live my truth. And so I will tell you that I was talking about this whole notion of how I am when it comes down to anger, and how I express things. And I tell people, I don't necessarily bite my tongue when I get upset. Instead, I'm like a rattlesnake. I learn how to just say what I gotta say. I strike fast and I'm done with it once I'm done. I say what I gotta say and then I'm done. Oh, did they just do me? Did they just end me? Okay, so So, can you still hear me now? Okay, can you hear me now? It says I have a mic. Later Angels, thank you so much. Thank you, Deb. I don't know, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yes, no, maybe. Am I off? Okay, so let's see. I'll do this. Okay. Alright. Okay, so I think I'm about to give up this mic anyway, because it's my time to go, but I just wanted to come back on and say thank you to everybody, and that I love you, and I guess I'll see you here same time next week, if not sooner, and thank you so much, everybody. Love you all, and I'll see you next time. All right. Alright, and to whoever that is out there watching me, thank you so much, and I love you too. Alright, take care. Alright, so I'm going to stop recording.